Hello, team. Welcome to another co-stream production with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce, from ATP Geopolitics, and the good old Greg Terry. Greg, welcome. You could say welcome to me. Here we are in a co-stream. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. What's really interesting this time is we're typically co-streaming from across the pond, and this time we're co-streaming from across the toilet. So this is beautiful.
We're very close. We could be in the same room, but we're not.
We're not.
It's just I could probably hear his voice from here.
Yes.
So we have been, Greg's obviously been in Ukraine for some time now. Just to let those who don't know, might have happened across this stream, I am presently in Ukraine, somewhere in Ukraine, where I have been since Tuesday. I think it's Saturday now. I have no grasp of time. And it's been an incredible experience. I've been, really privileged to have experienced what I've experienced, to have been given the chance to hop in the battle bus with Greg and Zhenya, who is he's a machine, Zhenya, and being joined by Pierre, who is a humanitarian aid worker who works in Kramatorsk, and I've interviewed him before. Well, actually, I interviewed his base.ua charity guy that's in charge of that. But that's how I know Pierre. He's been a follower of the channel. And anyway, all four of us have been traveling around Ukraine together and having some incredibly meaningful experiences. Greg, how do you think it's going so far?
Johnny, I think you're the dog's bollocks. That's what I think. And
it has been. We've had some language learning sessions as well, which is fantastic. And yes, there's one of the Greg's.
Here's what I'll say, and I know we're going to talk about it, but we've been in some incredible places and experiences. You've been, every bit of access I have, you have. So you've seen some incredible things that the regular world will never see. You've been able to talk to soldiers and be in situations that the world will never be. CNN will never be. Sky News will never be. So it's been really good. And what I would like to say most is you have been a serious trooper. I just applaud you. It's public. I actually watched your video about your multiple sclerosis. And guys, I'm just going to tell you, this dude is a stud. He's only fallen one time, but I caught him.
I did have a fall, actually. We were walking through snow, but it was snow. And this is quite interesting in itself. It was snow on top of rubble, bricks that you can see. It looked like smooth kind of land. But of course, with multiple sclerosis and your mobility issues, if anything touches my feet at all, I just don't have the reactivity to, most normal people wouldn't even think about it. And you just stumble and you put your foot that way. I just don't react. So if something knocks my feet, I just go dump.
Well, and the truth is, where we were going, and you can talk about this, but you were getting a view of the Donbass area to give you better understanding of the landscape and all of these, so you can, better communicate to the world, especially on the geopolitics side. But I had walked ahead of him and tried to pat down a pathway in the snow because I knew the rubble was under there, and I took him the smoothest way I could, but the smoothest way, of course, there's still bricks,
wrong.
But on the right side of that is this strip of grass. And none of those areas have been cleared for mines, and mines were all over that place because it was occupied, and it was actually a very important position for the taking of a Zoom originally. But I told Johnny, I said, okay, walk in this path, don't go over there, and don't go over there. And Johnny did awesome. And, I just applaud you, friend. You're a trooper.
I saved my camera. That's the main thing. It's like knees took a hell of a beating, but I saved the camera. That's what Pierre said. He was walking by and it's like, you saved the camera. I don't know how you did that, but yeah. So anyway, that's my one fall so far. So so far so good, which is great. And you guys have looked after me so well.
And Zhenya's in here, by the way. Zhenya's in here.
I mean, I cannot tell you guys. So it's quite easy to watch Greg's shows and think Xenia is kind of like just off to the side. Maybe he's even Greg's assistant or whatever. Xenia is a beast, right? He is the driving force behind. Like, Greg is so good at fronting everything. He's just a bit of a PR guy himself, but Xenia is just honestly an absolute legend. Just
Xenia
he
is
multitasks.
The dog's bollocks.
He is.
The
honestly,
dog's bollocks.
he is. He's a good man, and he's just brilliant. So yeah,
well, it's interesting. Just let's explain that for folks. So, I know Ukraine. I know all these places. I know all these military and soldiers we deal with. I mean, I'm downstairs in the hotel here talking to a guy that's incredible, man, and he says, "Man, took you too long to get back to see me." I mean, we're connected. And I introduced that guy to Johnny just a little while ago. But Xenia literally is driving us down the road, and there are two phones, and he's texting on one. And I don't want to hear it. We're safe. Dog's bollocks is a compliment. I learned that, by the way. He's texting on one, communicating. On the other, he's on a phone call, and he's driving in horrible weather. So it's nonstop communication. It's nonstop activity. It's nonstop. Let's change our direction. Let's take a different road. We're going to go to this position to see soldiers. We're not going to go to that position to see soldiers. It's too dangerous. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. He's rolling nonstop. Mm-hmm. And tonight he's resting. He's not allowed to do anything but lay in his bed. If not, Johnny will go over and whack him. But
no. So it's been incredible. I've got to meet people and speak to people in very personal situations, actual troops, sort of, if you like, frontline troops or troops from certain areas that have like daily experiences of warfare. It's quite incredible. Talking to them about their hopes and their fears and their top. I was speaking to one guy, a young sergeant, who I was like, "What are your three issues? What are your three like worries?" And he said the political situation is obviously a huge worry. I think mobilization, and the interesting third one was like the worry that if we don't continue learning from our mistakes or learning from what's going on. So I don't know that was a thing that's worrying him, as in it's a problem now. I think they are learning, but if they stop learning, I thought that's quite an interesting addition there. But certainly, I think what has really hit home is, and I don't want to pick on the US or anything at all, but the lack of artillery ammunition and the lack of kit that has essentially been exacerbated or really kind of caused in many ways by the impasse that's been going on for 4 months now. So it really is 4 months of not getting serious amounts of kit, and that is, we are seeing it here. The news that's coming out from the front lines, things are not good at the moment. Like, let's not sugarcoat this. Things are really challenging at the moment for the Ukrainian soldiers on the front line, and they don't have artillery ammunition. I was speaking, sorry, Greg, I've been talking too long here, but I would just say I was speaking to a humanitarian aid worker last night, a British guy actually, who knows 2 Ukrainian artillerymen. And he was saying, I've got these 2 mates, artillerymen. He's like, one of them has lost his job because he literally has nothing to fire with. So he's now in a mortar crew. He's been moved to a mortar crew where they just so happen to have like mortar ammunition. And the other one he knows is just sitting around twiddling his thumbs effectively because he has no artillery ammunition. Like, there's 2 artillerymen. I know it's just an anecdote, but I spoke to people elsewhere. I spoke to the troops themselves, and they said, when we were firing last year, we were firing this amount, and now we're firing a 1/6 to a 1/10 of what we were previously. And you're like, well, there you go. And so this is a massive challenge for the Ukrainians because they are losing territory, and they will continue to lose territory without that equipment. Anyway, rant over.
Well, what I'm hoping for is, like, the war, man. You really do. I'm really impressed with your knowledge for never having been here. And now, we're moving through our journey, and we will finish the entire front line for Johnny. And it's just going to make him so much better in being able to communicate the need, share information, update the world, and also at the same time help us support Ukraine here by raising funds, and we'll be the hands and feet and the eyes and the ears and get it right to the front. So we've got a great plan and process, but you're understanding now, because I think sometimes people, especially before we all connected, and then my community began to grow immensely due to you and Dr. Gertis and Rick and others, and it's continuing now. And then all of us are just growing together, and it's a beautiful thing for Ukraine. But many times people on my chats in the early days, they come on here and they say, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna do. Yeah, I just read it. This is happening. Ukraine just took this position, and this just happened, and da 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 da." And I look right into the camera and I go, "You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, you have zero idea. You read it on Twitter. You got it on some bogus propaganda Telegram channel that you think is coming from Ukraine, and you're full of cocky," or whatever you would say there in Great Britain. I hope now, Johnny, that you now have an understanding like how well connected Jania is and how well connected we are. If we ever say something on the stream that we're allowed to say, we're really not making it up. I mean, we told the world that Bakhmut was going to fall. We can talk about it now, that Bakhmut was going to fall 8 weeks before it ever fell, because we already knew. And everybody's going, "Oh no, Ukraine's coming from the north and coming from the south. They got it. They're going to kick them out of Bakhmut." And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm more pro-Ukrainian than I promise any of you are, or at least equal to. I'm here, and I'm just telling you, Bakhmut's going to fall. And then 8 weeks later, Bakhmut fell. So it's not that we're trying to be negative, but we want the world to know the truth. This war is hell. This war is brutal. These soldiers need help. These soldiers need love. These soldiers need supplies. They're like fighting with an arm tied behind their back, or whatever other, symbolism I could use. And it's a tragedy. And when we spread false hope and we spread lies that Russia is pushing, but we think it's the truth, we actually are not doing them a service. We're doing them a disservice. The world needs to know how dire it is and how much help Ukraine actually needs. And if we can get it to them, they can win the war, period.
Yeah, and it is so obvious to me. And to be honest, it's nothing that I haven't told my team before, in that and I keep saying this to you, bore you with it, Greg, but they just need stuff. It's a relatively easy war to win. Yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit condescending or patronizing, or so, I don't know. But it is a relatively easy war to win. They just need an absolute bucket load of artillery shells, like a couple of thousand ATACMs, all the Storm Shadows and Taurus you could poke your hairy stick at, and F-16s. They just need stuff, right? Stuff, HIMARS rockets coming out there posterior. They just need a lot of that stuff, and then you don't even need to commit troops to the front lines to absolutely destroy the Russian army effectively. You just throw all of that at them, because we do know that they need to mobilize. But I was having a conversation with Andrew Perpetua earlier today, where he's quite damning of the situation, and that actually Ukraine made some poor decisions, and he's like, Zelensky should have mobilized a year ago type thing. But I would take a more nuanced approach that if they could have done easily, they would have done. Like, really, like if you had a choice, like mobilize or don't mobilize. If you mobilize, you're going to win the war. If you don't, you're going to lose. You're like, well, I'm going to mobilize. But it's more complicated than that. If you mobilize, like I keep saying, 450 to 500,000 troops, then you'll have maybe 300,000 people leave the country by running away, trying to get away from mobilization. You'll take all of those people out of the economy. Your economy would absolutely tank. Your tax revenues would absolutely tank. And you'd have no way of funding the war and paying for the soldiers you're mobilizing. But on the other hand, if you don't mobilize, you can't do well on the front line. So this is a genuine dilemma that doesn't have, there is no solution. There is no solution to this that doesn't bring about some kind of mass pain, either like pain on a battlefield or pain in the entire society. But they absolutely need troops on the ground. So they need equipment and they need troops. We can't help with troops, but we can help with equipment, and hope that if we give them all the right equipment, then that will mitigate them needing so many troops. However, we're not giving them the right equipment, so their troops are getting attrited away, and you can't replace them. And this is a big problem that could have been solved if everyone was really bloody serious about supporting Ukraine. Sorry, another rant.
You know, if Zhenya was in here right now, and he's not allowed to be tonight, he's resting, but he's in the chat, he would tell you this. And so, like, Johnny, on a lot of the roads that we've taken you and a lot of the circuit that we've made, and we can talk about, you know, some of the places we've been, no problem, just not where we're at today or where we're going tomorrow. But I can't even describe to you the difference. And yes, you've been the front and covered about 50% of it. And brother, if it had been 1 year ago and you had been rolling with us on this same journey, you would have been shocked at how many trucks were rolling around with supply, and you know they're loaded. And it's a year ago. Okay, here goes the HIMARS here. Here goes the 777 here. Here goes this there. Here goes MLRS here. Here comes trucks full of munitions. Now, we've seen some trucks, but brother, that is nothing compared to what it was 1 year ago and 6 months ago. They really, you can't say out, because if you have one, you're not out, but they're out and they need supply. We keep beating the dead horse, but the dead horse is the horse of truth. They need stuff.
Yeah, they just need a lot of stuff. I mean, it is. I just wrote an article. Let's see if I can share it. Actually, I need to stop sharing that. I'm just going to share this because I wrote it today. There it is. Right. Hopefully you can see that. So, oh no, where's that all gone? Let's make that big. Right. So this is an article I wrote today called Crowdfunding a War Against Autocracy. And this is an article that is partly, well, very much dipping into the experiences I've had with Greg here on this journey, and you know, about talking to people and about how this war is a war that we are all invested in. And by invested in, I mean like physically invested in. We are paying. I'll link to that in the live chat, by the way. But we are paying for this war in the sense that we are crowdfunding, and which we, when I say we, Greg, Zhenya, myself, the Ukrainian Professor Gerdes, we are all involved in trying to raise funds to supply equipment to the Ukrainians, and that comes in the form of, you know, all the things that you can think that might be supplied are being supplied by NGOs and fundraisers and people on Twitter. You know, it's drones, it's pickup trucks, it's literally bullets, it's medical supplies, it's stretchers and body armor and all sorts of stuff, mine detectors. And the question is, why can't the Ukrainian government do this? Like, you wouldn't expect to see that in your own army, right? You wouldn't expect the US Army to go to war and then people go, oh, let's get together and raise funds for like trucks. They've got 230,000 Humvees, so the US Army and Marines alone. US Army and Marines alone have 230,000 Humvees that they're getting rid of. They want to replace them, right? Ukraine doesn't have that, right? So Ukraine just has all these needs and an inability to fulfill those needs. And so we as people, we the people, turn up and say, right, well, we can help. And we feel morally, hopefully all of you guys out there feel as morally obliged as Greg and myself does. I mean, Greg's putting not just money into this, but this is his life, right? Doing this, going and delivering this stuff. Zhenya is having words with drone manufacturers and mine detector manufacturers, getting the right hardware and software, you know, messed around with so that it's bespoke for the people on the front line and what they want. Like, this is a crowd-funded war in many respects. So that article was to talk to that point. And it's just incredible going and meeting these people and seeing Zhenya and Greg, you know, talk to them and just say, you know, see the process of like, you guys need stuff, we can help you, and we can do it more efficiently and effectively than if you were to go through your official procurement processes.
And I hope people are seeing that, if, you know, on my channel where, you know, at the right time when we're safe and OPSEC is secure and the video is approved, we do everything the best we can. But we're showing you the delivery. I mean, I'm there hugging the soldier, putting the metal detector in his arm, or putting the the stretcher in his hands, or they're carrying me away on the stretcher, or I'm riding the little human hero rescue tank. We're trying to show you that we do what we say. Rick the Ukrainian is in here. And thank you, Rick, for being here, man. You are such an important cog of this puzzle. And Johnny was already mentioning you. Let me explain to you guys how this is working. So I don't want to switch topics, but it's just, Johnny said it, us two, and then Rick the Ukrainian, and as well, Dr. Gertis. So like, we're in different chat groups, and like Rick and I talk every day, and we're talking and we're communicating, and then we're riding down the road, and Dr. Gertis calls me and says, "Hey, hand the phone back to Johnny. I need to talk to him a minute." Guys, we're not just out there like we really don't know each other. We've become family, and now Johnny and I are really family. In fact, I'm thinking about, it's a little chilly here tonight. Johnny, I may slide over and just snuggle up with you tonight, buddy. I'm a little chilly. You got that nice beard.
Door's always open.
But there was a question in your chat from one of your viewers. Her name is Kaylee Evans. And I just want to answer this question because it just popped out to me. What has happened to these glide bombs? So if you're asking about the 500 kilogram glide bombs that Russia drops and then can basically tactically control a lot of their flight coming down to the target, I'll tell you what happened. In the last 24 hours, 8 were dropped on Sumy and 50 were dropped on Avdiivka. 8 and 50. How do you know that, Greg? We know it. 8 on Sumy, 50 on Avdiivka. You never see it in the news. It's happening, guys, every day.
Yeah, Avdiivka is, I think, game over. I mean, it's interesting that Syrski's come along and replaced Zaluzhny, and there are people who are pro and con. And my opinion is we don't know enough. I've told you guys this a number of times, but my opinion is we probably don't know enough of the ins and outs of what really went on. Whatever you think, you need to get behind the decision, because it's no good griping about it. It's happened and it's been gone. But he in Bakhmut was kind of responsible, I think, for throwing lots of Ukrainians at Bakhmut. I think that was eventually the right decision in hindsight. And I was a bit 50-50 at the time, but in hindsight, I think Bakhmut attrited. It was the end of Wagner, succeeding in destroying Wagner, which caused the end of Prigozhin eventually. And it attrited huge amounts of Russian soldiers. Avdiivka, I think, has done that. The question is, can it continue doing that? Is it worth throwing in lots of troops? Is Syrski the sort of guy that will throw in lots of troops, or is it going to be a case of just operationally withdrawing? And I think the latter is probably what's happening. That's my understanding from before I came out here. That's what I said was happening, and I imagine that's what's going to happen, because you can't sustain having 50 glide bombs dropped in your head in that kind of almost like shooting fish in a barrel type thing. So I think it's done its job. I think you'll probably see Ukrainians pull back from there. Avdiivka is just a bit of a nightmare now. That's my thought.
It is a nightmare. It's I'm not ready to say it's done, but we're getting close. And Ukraine's going to rethink. But honestly, we could put. So as far as a general, I saw some questions in there, and what are the soldiers thinking about the change in leadership right now? It's not that they're in shell shock. They knew stuff was coming, but a lot of stuff came down the pike, and right now they're just trying to grasp really what's going on, get their head wrapped around it, who the new chief general is, all of these things. And right now, I don't think they really have a position. I know that they were very supportive of General Zaluzhny. That's a fact, and very respectful. He's a great guy. So we'll just have to wait and see. That's something you can't call. So you have to be patient on that one. As far as you were talking about Avdiivka, and I had another thought for you, and you were talking about, so this is what I was going to say in regard to the general. Guys, I mean, whoever your favorite historical people are, as far as maybe, if you're here on our channels, especially the legend over there that I'm becoming very close friends with now, you know some history. Maybe you're a General George Washington. You know he was very important for liberating us, and and then there were some other generals that we could talk about, or maybe from your nation, wherever you're from, through war. Okay, you think of famous ones, guys. You could put General Patton or any other famous general that you like from your country in as the leader of Ukraine right now, and unless they get stuff, it doesn't matter who the general is. They need stuff. It's not like many people think that the F-16s coming are a panacea and that immediately Ukraine wins the war. Okay, folks, they will be a big help, but they're not going to win the war. Ukraine needs stuff. So hopefully we keep that message going forward, and we're doing our part here in all these communities to provide all the stuff we can to help them.
Yeah, and a couple of points. So first of all, someone mentioned glide bombs. If they meant, what about the American iteration of that, the GLSDB? Not GLSDB, the JDAMs, ones that were released from the air from Ukrainian planes. They are being used. I don't know why they're not being used as much. I don't know if they don't have the stocks of them or whether there's still issues with jamming. I don't think the issues with jamming are as widespread as some had originally claimed. GLSDB, which are the same kind of thing, but launched from HIMARS that have 150 kilometer range, I think will be incredibly useful. And the way I understand it is that Ukraine should get them irrespective of the impasse in Congress, because I think that deal was already signed and effectively they were paid for. So I think it's just going to be a case of receiving them as they get the green light, as they're manufactured, basically. So that's to answer that. With regard to drones are mentioned. It seems very apparent, and I think everyone knows this, that drones are becoming the replacement to artillery for the reasons we talked about. They have no artillery shells. Things are desperate, and what the Ukraine do have is a burgeoning production of drones. I know there's been this talk, and I've done a lot of segments on this as to really, are the Russians making 300,000 a month? Highly unlikely. Are the Ukrainians making 50,000 a month? Highly likely. But also, I don't think the government can remotely count how many people are making them at home, how many people are fundraising on the front lines and getting drones sent to them, how many people like Greg. Greg and Jenny, I think, have put an order in for 20 drones, is it?
Yes.
So,
drones, okay, wait, pause. We haven't. I mean, we have. Zhenya makes the call. All of us have. So Dr. Gertis is in here. Rick is in here. You're in here. I'm in here. And all of these wonderful people that all are partnering together. So we have all of this huge grassroots effort. We've come together to do this. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And
we just the hands. We just the hands and your eyes.
Ammunition builds confidence. I mean, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. But yeah. So what's happening is that I think Ukraine has been able to harness the private industries to make drones, as well as the public industries doing that as well, the public sector, as well as international assistance coming in from many different countries, providing lots of variety of lots of drones of different varieties. And then people like, Greg and Zhenya and ourselves coming together and providing an initial kind of dipping the toe in the water, 20 drones, see how these go, with a view to them providing more.
Oh, yes, many more. But and this comes from that project that was Dr. Gertis's brainchild, with you're ending in the 05, or in Dr. Gertis knows, and our guys in PA know, but your community has supplied and bought. This is where we're talking about. This is the unfolding of that project, and it is happening, and you guys will be seeing all about it. It just takes time. Crowdfunding
that war.
Okay, you're talking about crowdfunding. Now, let me interview you. You were in the Sumy region. We can say it. We were up in the Sumy region, and you've become you've been able to meet soldiers. You've been able to experience the front lines. You've been able to sit and have tea with superheroes just coming from their job. I mean, you've done it all. Remember what the guy told you. He said, you know, people are doing stuff even in their homes, in their attics, in their basements. Everybody is working together, whether it's somebody working on a chip or somebody putting together pieces or somebody 3D printing. It's not just us around the world, but maybe it will encourage all of you tonight to know that there are millions of Ukrainians that are working together also in that grassroots efforts to help their nation stand. And it's just a beautiful thing. So, you know, Johnny, you were able to witness that.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that experience in a while, but one of the things we tried to do today, it went a bit wrong today. We were in, I guess we could say where we were today. Is that right?
Yes, you were.
Fine. Yeah, so we're in Kramatorsk today. I was staying with Pierre, who is, like I mentioned earlier, humanitarian worker that works from out of Kramatorsk, and we visited his setup. And I had a night there with Pierre. Greg and Jenny went elsewhere, so we hung out there and got to know the people who are working as volunteers. Just an amazing job of what they do. They do a lot of evacuations. They also teach kids who are traumatized and lots of different things that organization does. And the guy that runs it is a guy called Anton that I've interviewed before. You can check it out on my live chats. But I've interviewed Anton before, and he's a wonderful guy. And he's one of the guys that runs that organization, Base UA. And he got back late after doing a mission in the day, and then he was due to leave at 4:30 in the morning to go to Seversk. They run a clinic outside of a basement in a basement in a hospital, so that people who haven't been and seeing a doctor for 2 years can go and see a doctor, etc., etc. So he went and did that, and then I really wanted. And Anton wanted, and Pierre wanted Anton to meet with Greg and Zhenya to make those connections. Connections are really important, especially when you're NGOs and you can share expertise and share ideas and help each other out. And Anton was saying last night, I've got a guy. He's actually one of the workers, I think, that was there and then joined the army. He's now flying drones out of sort of Vuhledar area or somewhere like that. And he is making drones himself, I guess, in his spare time. I presume they get in the kits, and then he makes the drones. And there was scope for Greg and Zhenya to get together with Anton. Anton had some questions, and there could be some, I don't know, maybe some way of them working together to deliver more drones. And it was a great opportunity. So we decided to do what we weren't planning on doing, which is, okay, let's quickly shoot to Seversk, which is quite a dangerous area. And when we were on the way, Pierre got a call that a Grad missile had landed 20 meters from the hospital that we were going to visit. Right, so this is dangerous stuff. I presume it didn't explode. But we hit a block point or a checkpoint where, because we hadn't planned on doing this and we didn't have the paperwork in place, we're just hoping that the existing paperwork that Greg and Zhenya rely on all the time would do the business. But Pierre was saying that Liman is now really tight. The last month, they totally tightened things up because people have died in Kherson. Humanitarian workers have died in Kherson and in other places around the front line in the east. And so
everywhere.
They've really tightened things up, and you come to these block points, you get out your paperwork, and they're like, no, that's not good enough. Actually, you need this kind of signed letter type thing, or whatever it is. And unfortunately, we're there for sort of 15 minutes, and in the end, we just didn't have the stuff to do it. We could have done it.
We could have fixed it easily. We just had to go back to Kramatorsk and come back, but it's just time
Didn't have the time
and weather and. It was one little piece of paper we needed. Okay?
Yeah,
I mean that's one little piece of paper, but
that's an experience,
not easy.
Right?
Oh yeah, it's not easy.
So
Johnny, that leads me to one question I asked you, and then you can continue. But can you just share with people? I know the weather here, but you're experiencing it. How crazy is it? And think about the guys in the trenches.
So the weather's been. I don't mean lovely. it's not been lovely, but it's been snowing in a big way. And for someone from the south coast of the UK, that's like awesome. I don't get to see snow very often because living by the coast, it doesn't really snow very much. So I was like, brilliant. You know, snow, lovely big snowflakes. Isn't that lovely? And we're in Kharkiv, and it was like, oh, a city with snow around. Isn't that nice? And then you're thinking, you're driving past, and we drive past like trench lines and, you know, blown up tanks or whatever it is. You drive past this stuff and you think, okay, down on the front lines, this isn't next to front lines, obviously, but down on the front lines, there's going to be people like running around in stuff, crawling through the snow. It's like, or having to dig through this. And, you know, and it's cold, and you're thinking, like, doing war is difficult at the best of times. Doing war in these conditions is super challenging, and you know, there's no it's no surprise that people are going to get hypothermia and this and that. And then you move to the south, and then that snow turns to rain, and you know, like that presents its own challenges. You're thinking weather dictates an awful lot in this war, as we all know. But you know, you see that you look out the window and you say, right, I'm in a nice warm car, isn't that lovely? But out there, that's tough.
It is very tough. So today, Johnny has experienced cold, snow, ice, wind, rain, fog, all of them. And you just think about no sun, no warmth. I mean, he's warm, but just out in the elements.
Yeah.
And what I always want to encourage people to think about is, right now, wherever you are sitting in the world, wherever, there are tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers sitting in a trench, wet, cold, maybe having one of our trench candles that we supply lit, sitting between their feet, trying to stay warm, fighting for you right now.
Yeah. So you know, it weather dictates an awful lot of what goes on, and it's quite incredible. You know, you driving across a pontoon bridge that we couldn't film. I'd love to have filmed it, but you're not allowed to film it. Next to a destroyed road bridge, and behind that a destroyed railway bridge. It's really like very evocative scene out the window, and then you look down at the river, and the river between the pontoon sections is just frozen, you know, frozen thick, and you got soldiers, you know, shoveling off the brown slushy snow, and you're thinking, yeah, this is obviously weather can suck.
I want to say something about this, because this is important for people to understand, and that is, I highly respect Johnny and Pierre. So let's just be very honest. And Zhenya told them straight. We've worked our rear ends off to have the access we have, to have the relationships we have, to have the connections we have. Guys, if I could tell you where I was this morning and what I was watching, you would flip your lid. Johnny was able to see it. We cannot say it, Johnny. You would flip your lid if I could tell you what we were watching. And I want to publicly thank Johnny, thank Pierre for being respectful and kind. When Zhenya or I say, I know you really want to film that, but if you pull that camera out, we're in deep doo-doo. Because, for example, that place you were describing there, it's the most incredible image that you could have taken that picture or video, and it would have communicated more than 1 million words, just one image. But we know that the guys are standing there with cameras. You know, the guy that was shoveling the snow off the bridge, Johnny, he's checking every car that goes by. They're watching. Why? Because nobody knows where this is at, so we can say it. We're crossing this river on this pontoon bridge, and you said it, Johnny. You said, man, this pontoon bridge is important. If this was taken out, they're in trouble. This is why that OPSEC, that security is so important. And I want to tonight publicly say thank you, Johnny, for being respectful.
Oh, no, of course. I mean, goodness. What's interesting is when you're driving around places like this, well over 50% of the traffic when we were there, like 95% of the traffic is military traffic. And you then realize that these key pinch points of logistic thoroughfare are incredibly important. And then you're thinking, well, why haven't the Russians hit it? It's quite interesting to me anyway. But yeah, I'm not giving them ideas. So yeah, don't go do that, Russia. But yeah, it's these things. When you see this playing out in front of you, you understand, how it all works to an even greater degree, right?
Darren Giddens, I see your comment there. How can we expand the truth about Ukraine to a much greater audience? Should we all try to connect? Hey, you connect us with anybody possible. We'll share everything we can. And then Rick, great comment there. I'm so happy that you're here, Johnny.
That's what I wanted to say earlier. I sorry about this, and sorry, Rick, for not saying this. I absolutely loved meeting Rick we were in Kiev, basically when we first got there, and it was just an absolute delight to have a meal with obviously Greg and Genya and Pierre, but also Rick there. It was a genuinely decent human being, and it's a pleasure to work together to a positive end. So yeah, thanks, Rick. And he gave me right. Okay, this. I hope, I don't know if we're going to get a chance to do any more of this. Great, but it'd be lovely to get somehow get some patches, because I'm fairly addicted to patches now, and I've only got a couple. So first of all, Rick not just gave me, but Rick started with giving me his NAFO Abrams one, and Rick the Ukrainian patch. And then I met Fish, who gave me this beautiful carved out of a 152 mil Soviet artillery shell, and it's a map, or the shape of Ukraine there, and it says to Johnny Pearce from Fish with the Ukrainian trident, and he's got Statue of Liberty, and he's like, oh, sorry, I should have got Big Ben on there, like I didn't realize you're British. And then he's got with Ukraine in my heart as well on the back. It's just absolutely delightful. And then we met this this group up in Sumy, and they gave me this patch here. Greg got one as well, and it's a really nice patch. It represents the one ray there represents the number one. The circle of the sun's 0. The 6 rays representing 6 because it's 106th. And there's lots of symbology within that. There's like 7, I think, feathers on the wings of the Pegasus for different reasons, and it's all like, this is brilliant. I love it. And I need to get me some patches.
Johnny, I'm going to grab a couple because people are interested in this. But my daughter, if you look up Greg, Hi Grace or Hi Dad, that's right, my daughter.
I'll find it.
Right up, just not far up.
Grace. Hi Dad, yep. Love you. Oh, lovely.
So that's my daughter, one of them. Hi Grace, Dad's still alive. Dad's still alive. Everything's good.
He's in safe hands, so I'm really looking after him.
Somebody said on my channel, it looks like Johnny's getting addicted to the patches. I've shared many times that the patches, they're like a currency of the front, but it's not like a monetary currency. It is a currency of respect, and it's a currency of honor, and it's a currency of gratefulness. And guys, I'm working on pulling that emotion out of Johnny, and he's emotional. And it's just, when that soldier does this and puts it in your hand, it's unbelievable.
I could all I could do is provide him with a Union flag, like a British flag patch, and say, "Well, I got this from the airport." I mean, is that all right? Like, I feel a bit like cheap and tacky, but I knew that a kind of patch swapping thing might happen, so I did get me some UK patches for the emergency situations. But yeah, and it's great driving in the battle truck. I don't know if Greg's got a name for their truck, but yeah, the battle bus. And you see above them, because you can either stick them, or you can take, or they come with with a backing that sticks to Velcro, because people have Velcro across their uniform or their body armor or on their shoulders, and so you have space to stick all sorts of stuff. And on the roof of the car, which has a kind of felt roof like interior, there's loads of these patches above Xenia, so it's like I get jealous.
I change all of mine all the time because I keep them back at my apartment there.
I'll check Greg out. Well, but when you was experienced as me, Johnny, when you got 109 patches.
But there's the same one Johnny had. This one, guys. Okay, so like this patch is the real deal, meaning what it's made out of and where it has to be at certain times. This is unbelievable honor to be given. This one it looks like, oh, I see that Terminator everywhere, guys. No. This is the
Predator.
Predator. This is the real one, and everybody knows it here in Ukraine. I'm carrying this time. Check this one out. This is for the sky and for the ground. Incredible looking. I'm carrying this one because we have so many folks in all of our communities that love when we show anything in regard to animals and dogs. So I'm still carrying currently the canine patch, which is special. And then this one right here is air defense. This look at this one.
It's nice.
Yeah. So it's just respect and honor.
Yeah, you just reminded me actually. So one great observation was this is testament to what Greg and Jenny do. So we were in Kramatorsk. No, we weren't. We were in Izium, and Pierre said, "Look, I know this great little cafe restaurant thing, little sort of canteen place to go and eat." And we walked down these stairs, and it's one of these weird places where they sell sofas and like food, and you're like, "Yeah, I'll have some borscht and then a 9,000 hryvnia sofa as well." You're like, I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, so we were lining up the canteen. You get your stuff, and it's a tiny little place, really. And there are these soldiers, because there's soldiers everywhere, right? This neck of the woods, every other person is a soldier. And then these soldiers are coming on behind us, and then we gave them the kind of hi there and all that kind of stuff. And then I presume Greg probably spoke a bit of Russian, and everyone knew who was who and what was what to a degree. And then Greg was like, "We're going to buy them their meal," right? And then so we go and sit down, and then these soldiers come up and their meal's paid for, and they're like, "Oh, hello, what's going on here?" And that's Greg's way of saying, "There you go, thank you for your service," type thing, but also a way in to like, right. Our job, this is Greg's mind speaking, our job here is to provide help for as many people as we possibly can in the military sphere. So here I bought in this meal, and we sit down, and the guy comes over, and they're chatting, and they have this conversation where Greg and Jenny are like feeling this guy out to see if he has needs. And it was absolutely lovely, because the guy said, "Look, I'm fine." Like, he was a guy that was in air defense, right? And in the area, in the Izium area. And he previously fought in Avdiivka, in Bakhmut, and Kherson, I think. Like, three of the most hardcore places you could fight in. And he'd been injured. I couldn't tell how he's injured, but in some way he's injured. He said, like, "I can't fight in the front line anymore, so I'm in air defense." And then Greg was like, "Look, is there any way we can help you? Is there any way we can help your unit out?" And it was an absolutely beautiful thing that actually Greg said. So the guy said, no, actually, I'm fine. I'd much rather you give your aid to the people who really need it on the front line, the people who are desperate for this. And Greg was like, that could be you one day. And if it is, give me a call. I was like,
well, so let me, you described it exactly as it happened. So we go down there, we're grabbing some food. When I walk in, you know, we're chatting. Zhenya wasn't there yet, so I'm translating for Johnny and Pierre to order. And we're just having some fun with the ladies working there and the people that were in the bag, just trying to have some fun with them because it's a war zone. And these soldiers come in, and I'm actually walking to go wash my hands. And when they walk by me, it was just, you know, an acknowledgement. They can see my patch I wear. They know, okay, and they know I'm a foreigner. And they look at me and they're just like that. So then I go wash my hands. I come back in. They're ordering. I just walk up to them and I ask them in Russian, you know, how you doing? How things going, fellas? And they were very like, I'm checking this guy out. Okay. He's speaking to me in Russian. And he responded right to me. He says, we're doing good and fighting for our country. And that's about it. And they come through the serving line and just a little small talk after that. So then I ease up in front of them and I tell the girl at the register, I said, listen, these guys are not buying their lunch. I'm buying it. And I gave her the money. And I said, we'll be over here. So the soldiers finally get up and ready to pull out his money and pay for the lunch. And the girl goes, paid for. And he goes, what? And she pointed over towards us, and I said, hello. So then he comes over. Man, thank you so much for buying my lunch. You didn't have to do that. And then the door opens, and we start to get that bond. Okay, so now this is how it works. His information has been given to Zhenya, and Zhenya has his. And if there's anything that he needs, Zhenya will get a text message that says, hey, it's Ralph. Remember, Greg bought my lunch in his Zoom. That's all we need to know. Now, we had a good conversation. Get up, handshakes, hugs. And now here's how you know, Johnny. You didn't add this part. Here's how you know.
I was going to, yeah.
Here's how you know. The guy looks at us and goes, can I take a picture with y'all? And we go over and we go, okay, you want your face blurred or not? He goes, no. Take a picture with me, please. And we're all hugging each other.
Have we got that picture? Like, did he? Because that was on his phone.
Zhenya has it.
Oh, mate, if I could have that, that would be. If I'm allowed to use it, yeah.
Yeah, he gave permission. He said, "Take my picture."
In fact, this is probably is a good segue, Greg. So Jerome says, and I loved it. So someone said, so JR is the guy who does my mapping, legend. I've got Grimsoft that helps with with my Discord, or doesn't help, he does it. Thank you so much. So Chris showing off here says Zhenya is to Greg as JR is to JP. Like, yep, for sure. But JR says, like, how do you guys determine what's exactly important and just important? Because all help is important, but you don't have an infinite budget. That's a great question.
Yeah, how do we determine that? So first of all, we determine it by relationship. So everywhere that we work. Okay, so that's a great point. We're not infinite. We're spreading our base so that we can have more help. And I saw Dr. Gertis's a comment in there. It's genius networking for a great cause to be able to support them more effectively. So this is how we do it. It's all networking. It's no different than maybe you guys having your business or whatever you do, but it's networking and relationship. And we get to know the guys, and every place that Johnny talks about on his map or the map of Ukraine, every important area we have through Zhenya and myself, strategic relationships with guys who know guys. So this is the message we receive. Many times Zhenya receives it and then we respond. Okay, I'm in the, and I'll just throw numbers out here. I'm just making this up. I'm in the 54th. We're doing good. But listen, my buddy over in the 49th, they are completely out of tourniquets. They don't know you, but I know you. We've got relationship. They're good guys. They're out. Okay, Zhenya says, okay, have that guy send me a text message. So these soldiers are really helping each other. And those are the ones we work with. This guy will say, man, that group is getting whacked with the mines, and they really need a metal detector, for example. And any way we can do that. So it's the networking. I'll answer that. It's the networking and it's the communication. And now these guys on the front lines know that they are in a critical moment. I personally believe over the next 6 to 12 months, we will know how this war is going to go. That's my opinion. Could be wrong, but we're at a very crucial moment in time here in this 2024 year for this war and for many things in the world. So these guys understand that, and now they're realizing, okay, I don't need to hoard 7 tourniquets when Igor over there has 1. And they're trying to help each other. Once again, it's Ukrainian heroes, it's relationship. Yes, Amazon is still active. And speaking about, I need to do this, Johnny, before I forget. Speaking about metal detectors, Mina just donated $400 to buy a metal detector. Mina, done deal.
Legend.
John P151, thank you for that also. And I know you always do this at the end, but you've got them all starred and stuff. But that was special. Mina sent it in, and specifically for a metal detector. And done deal, Mina. Done deal. You'll see it delivered.
So, just if I can actually just say a few thanks. Tremors, buy yourselves a beer, JP. You guys deserve it. Had my first beer tonight, actually, because we are just somewhere where I'm able to do that, and it's not something I particularly come out here to do. But like Pierre and myself, just sat down and had a bit of a debrief on today and shared a beer. So that was nice. So thank you very much, Tremors. Thanks to Richard Bennett, as always, such a great supporter of the channel, gifting 5 memberships there. In fact, who is it? Da Vinci saying here, hey everybody, look at my red dot. I had my 1-year ATP membership anniversary 2 days ago. It's so meaningful to me to have members that I don't give any perks really. I don't have time. I'd love to do more perks, and it's on my to-do list. But thank you for your support, guys. Mitch Mazarel, who's just a Canadian legend. He's not the only one, interestingly. There are a couple of Canadian legends. We'll come to that. A sincere thanks for what you folks are doing and leading by example, walking the walk. I try to, Mitch, but sometimes I end up crawling the crawl through snow and rubble, it turns out. But, when you've got someone to pick you up, it's all right. It's not a problem. It turns out I've got 2 knees, so it's okay if I just damage one of them. So thanks, Mitch. It really means a lot. Rick, thank you so much. It really means a lot. It's so cool. And Uri Bench, really appreciate your support as well, mate. I've been there for a long time. And just finally for now, another Canadian legend. And the reason I wanted to say this, Greg, is because we're going to be visiting at some point going forward it's Mark and Olena, and I've interviewed them both on my channel before. They are Ukrainians or Canadian Ukrainians or Ukrainian Canadians or British Canadian Ukrainians, because Mark lived for some time in Britain and sees himself as aligned to Britain as well. Mark or Olena's parents live in a village in the Kherson Oblast that we are going to visit, and they're looking forward to us coming there. And in fact, I haven't told you this, Greg, but I sent Mark an email saying, look, we're going to either be there at this point or this point, not really sure when, due to fluid movements. And he's like, that's really good, because they are really worried that we'd get there and they wouldn't have food and stuff ready for us. So I was like, honestly.
Thank you for you're doing great on the opposite there, Johnny, because we definitely can't tell where we're going on that one. But I can tell you this, and I know Mark is in here watching, so it's not like they don't know. But where we're going, that place has been hammered demolished.
Yeah.
And it will be so refreshing that, Johnny, we can get you there and we can be able to walk in and give them a hug and eat a bowl of borscht or whatever it's going to be. So this is what it's all about. And it's just going to be a very special moment. On mine, there's Tobias Bohansen. Thanks for all your effort and hard work.
Yes.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And so Tobias Bohansen, really, again, one of the many bands I'm going to join or going to start, actually, which is Danish Love. A bit of Danish Love there. It's going to be a progressive rock band or maybe some punk ska. I don't know. But Danish Love, thanks for that, Tobias Bohansen. And also Strange Trip. Yes, it is. Thank you for confirming that. No, Strange Trip, thank you very much. It's really generous. Thank you.
I just received another donation for discretionary. Please use for our Zero Heroes. Okay, that's a really cool way to refer to it. On the Zero line. It's on my platform. You can't see this one. This is
no. I was going to ask you whether you got a video of the UGV. I know you showed it. I think maybe on the live stream. Did you?
UGV.
Unmanned ground vehicle.
I showed it on a live stream. I can load it for you if you want.
Yeah, that might be good to show.
Okay. And so, Tamara, thank you for that. Much love and respect to you, Frontline heroes. Yeah, much love.
Because actually, I think this fits into like the networking thing about. So you can talk through how this came about, which is like you didn't know who these people were, what to expect, and again, you're like, guys, don't have your cameras out. Like this is we don't know them. We're not sure what's going to come of this, but here's a connection that we've been presented. We're going to go to this place, meet these soldiers, and then
Johnny liked that one. I'll have to move it over, Johnny. So give me 1 minute. Keep talking. But
So we went there thinking, this. Okay, let's be on our best behavior. So Pierre and I were like cameras away, weren't like big lenses out and like, hello guys, we're the press. Not that we are, but you know what I mean. So we go into basically a farm. It smells of farm. This is at night as well. And they've got some head torches going on. And then straight away we're shaking hands. And straight away, actually, they're just like, come into this barn, check this out. This is cool, and this does this, and come and have a go at drive, or not have a go at driving one. But come and watch us drive one of these things. And we see these tracked. I've shown videos of them to people before, but they can be used to lay mines. They have the mine laying contraption that you can put on top that drops mines, or they can have a big go gadget claw that can basically grab either dead bodies or injured people and then drag them off the battlefield, or they can put them on top of the vehicle as well.
That's right. That one can do two. You can, if you can get it where maybe there's some wounded guys or guys that have sacrificed the ultimate gift, and there are guys there. They can take a wounded guy, put him up on the stretcher on top, and then they could also hook onto the other and rescue and honor two at one time. So it's pretty amazing piece. It's uploading right now. I'll get it to you in just a second.
Yeah, and what was great about that is like it was kind of like hit it off straight away. Like, okay, this is no problem. These guys realized that you guys are just out there to help them, and they had these drones that I couldn't quite work out whether. I don't think they were making them, but people they knew were making them. Is that right? And that these were costing $5,000, and actually for that $5,000, these were better drones than the ones that cost like $30,000 or whatever. And it's quite interesting. We asked like what the range was for these, and he said basically if you were standing on a hill and you had line of sight contact to it, these things could go from 50 kilometers away from your, and that's insane. But he said if you're down and in amongst it, the realistic range is kind of 10 kilometers, which is still incredibly impressive.
All right, but let's think about that now with your geopolitical understanding. I took Johnny on top of the hill above Izum, and I showed him the place where when the Russians came the first time and took Izum, they lined their tanks up on this hill and they just smoked the city. That's how they took it so easily, because they had the high ground advantage and they just smashed it. So think about that, Johnny. If you were up there, you would have line of sight on that for 30, 40 kilometers. You'd be able to control it. Now, if you don't have direct high ground for line of sight, and guys, we're not talking about an aerial drone. We're talking about the human hero rescue machine. Okay. It's incredible. And I'm in the process of sending it to Johnny right now. But just because you don't have line of sight, what they then do, and this is how smart these guys are, and we've watched that. Jane and I've watched this and worked with it. They will use an intermediary drone. They'll take a drone with an antenna on it, put it up in the sky. Then their remote control is talking to the drone, and then they'll keep the drone having the line of sight down on the human hero rescue machine. And even if it's forest or terrain, they can still get it out there far. It has cameras on it. It's remote. It's an incredible piece of equipment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
actually,
all of us are buying one and delivering it right to the division that is being established for honoring the heroes and honoring those that have lost their lives and being able to retrieve them safely. And at the same time, not only retrieve them safely, but keep the others alive from not feeling guilty for not being able to bring their comrade off the front that have given their life. Now this machine will come in and grab them. And I'm telling you right now, if we can get this first one delivered, and there's quite a queue, we were able to move ourselves up in the queue, Zhenya. And because of that, we're going to get like one of the first ones of this new modification. But I can tell you that if we go for a second one of these, it will go to Pete in Project Constantine, period.
Yeah. So I was just talking about Izium. I don't know if this was in Izium or is near Izium. Where
this is in Izium, 100%.
Yeah. So there was this. I don't know if I've got the ones before this. I won't show you anyway. I talked about this as a video on mine, a sort of 5-6 minute video I did with Greg where he's explaining what happened, and the tanks rolled in and they blew up this building, and you see, the building is missing in between these two, as you can see here, like two areas of the larger building that are left standing either side of the kind of rubble, and under that rubble is a basement, and 53 people perished as they were carrying, I think, or 52.
3 survived.
3 survived. Yeah, that was it. And when you look at this, you see that is basically what you're looking at there is someone's room that's been sort of, I can't. That's me.
That's not somebody's room.
Yeah. So, and this is a picture that Pierre took next, which shows you. Sorry, we'll get there in a second. It takes ages for these here. So
there you go.
That is, the clothes are still. This happened a year ago. Those clear clothes are still there. Like, no one can access that. I mean, the people who own that probably were the people who perished in that attack. I mean, it's absolute, war crime. This, a case of a building being destroyed by tanks in a very deliberate attack that is aimed to terrorize people. And kill people, and it worked. This is an absolute war crime. But I just thought that is a really evocative photo. You've got the clothes still hanging in the wardrobe in this half-destroyed room, like 3 stories up or whatever it is, where they've been. Look, there's a TV there, just sat on its table. Just absolutely incredible picture there that Pierre took. That I just thought I'd share with you.
Yeah, what's interesting about that, Johnny, is that this was a part of the area on the front lines where I think, and so much about this war, it's really impressive, actually, your knowledge for this being your first time here. But I think the awareness that you gained coming through this part of just destruction is, I don't think you understood, or if you did, I could be wrong, but how much damage tanks actually did. And the tanks, literally, guys, that's not missiles and bombs. That is tanks. And they would go down the street and systematically level every building, in every house. And that picture you see there, I could literally show you thousands of buildings that look exactly the same.
Yeah, I think this picture here is also really evocative. It's like I love the way Pierre's put this picture together.
Mm-hmm.
Like the two sides of the building. We were just looking up into the building there, to where those clothes were. But this is like a child's swing, or, almost propping up the two sides of this building. It's just, yeah. I mean, that to me is just a super.
And I know you shared this in the video clip we made for you and your channel, but guys, so looking through that swing set there, I mean, I know this place intimately, unfortunately. So this was never on news. This happened so much, but in that building right there, you're looking at that middle portion that's gone. Okay, that was one building, and that whole middle section is gone. In that, right where the blue swings, the seat is, was the basement, and that is the place where 55 residents of that building were huddled, and outside their windows, they had hung sheets where they had marked children here, civilians only, no military, leave us alone, don't hit our building. And when the tanks rolled through, all of those guys went into that basement right there, which is right where the blue seat is. And they disregarded those flags and those sheets hanging, and they leveled that building, and it fell onto that basement, and 52 of the 55 were killed. Now you may say, okay, Greg, that's just like so much detail, and you wasn't there when that happened. How do you know that happened? Because early on in the war, after it had happened and Izum had been liberated, Zhenya and I pulled up into that place because we found it. And we pulled up into there, and this lady walked up behind me, and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're here to help. We're here to learn what's happening here, tell the world, share the world, help people." And she goes, "That's my building." I said, "What?" "That's my building. There's my apartment on the 4th floor." I said, "Okay, would you mind sharing what happened?" And she point blank told me the story. First-hand witness who was in the basement and was one of the 3 that survived. She lost all of her family, and she lost all of her friends in 1 minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, incredible.
It's uploaded for you.
Yeah, let me just, I'm just doing something else there. Okay, so it's, I believe this one.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Thank you so much for all of your help, your participation, helping us fund all of this stuff, being here. Johnny's just off camera watching this. We've been granted special access to come and to do a test run with the Hero evacuation machine. And that is not only for heroes who have fallen in the line of duty and given up their lives for this country and for the world, but also for those that have been wounded. This piece of equipment is unbelievable, and I'm excited that all of us together are able to partner in it. And tonight, to give you a sample preview of what we're going to help Ukraine with, check this out. Yeehaw!
Stop.
Thank you guys for your help.
Go from another side.
Thank you guys for your help.
People could see.
Yep, this thing is incredible. So this is the I'm calling it the Human Hero Tank Unit. With its tracking, all of it. I'm not going to go into the technical specifications, but it's incredible. The attachments then go on it for the fallen and the wounded. And guys, we're doing one of these. So thank you for helping us. You'll be seeing this. I'll do it on a video where I can explain it. And хлопці, дякую, лавремо, ми помагаємо і бажаю здоров'я. Слава Україна!
Героям слава!
Dякую, you guys. Thank you. There it is.
Yeah, I think perfectly.
Yeah, then I got to write it.
Yeah, you did actually. That was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's unbelievable stuff, and this is what we're trying to do. It's not we. The Ukrainians are so innovative. I mean, really, and so creative because guys, they're having to do this. I don't want to say on their own because it's not fair to all that's been given, but in many senses, you know, they're so depleted on shells. I don't know how much longer, we can just beat that drum, but we're telling you the truth. They're so depleted on munitions that they're focusing on the other facets of the war, just trying to be innovative and figure it out themselves. So they can just ask for shells and please help us. And the other stuff we'll figure out. It's just it's a war.
I don't want to make light of this, Greg.
No.
And I apologize, but Jamie Snow says that could be useful for getting me back from the pub. And I'll tell you what, I think he's got a point. I might do my own fundraising to the side of this. I think there could be some international export in this. But yeah, I mean, you see that vehicle, and it's quite battered. They put it through the mill. It's a bit of a prototype one that they've been. Well, we saw a couple of them there actually, and I tell you what, you didn't want to get in the way of that as well, because that's a couple of broken shins. If that thing drives into you, it had a bit of oomph.
I mean, it's a little mini tank base is what it is, modified. And it's just incredible what they've done. And you say, well, that, don't look that good. Well, listen, we're not painting it for a Corvette Candy Apple Red Stingray. Where it's going to war. And it's an amazing piece of equipment there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to remind people, if they were willing and able to donate, a couple of people, King Raccoon and JR here, so it's pointing people towards gregterry.org /donate. And the best thing to do is to go to there rather than do it through YouTube or anything else like that. The best thing to do is to go to there. It's the most efficient way of getting finances to things like this, things like what we're talking about. So it's really important. Just a bit of I guess I don't know if this is light entertainment from Greg here or
no. You need to show a couple things because So what do we do when we drive all these kilometers and miles when you're stuck with Johnny Pearce in a truck?
I mean, most people think that was like spending a day in heaven. Like it's such a place.
Are you making another Christian spiritual reference there, Johnny?
No. It's I've got this thing in my head that we've got to get this done, which is where, like, as many people know, like I'm a liberal atheist philosopher. Your man Greg is a Christian pastor, a Republican Christian pastor, and we've got
Reagan. Excuse me, I'm a Reaganite.
Yes. And we've got Pierre, who is like a French, is a British actually,
but
British
hermit.
French. He's British French hermit, humanitarian worker. So I've got this like joke in my head, which is where a liberal atheist philosopher, a Christian Republican pastor, and a French hermit humanitarian walk into a bar, right? And I just want us walking into a bar. I want the footage, and I want the barman to go, "Thanks for helping, guys." It's not so much a joke; it's just quite touching. And I just have this in my head that be like you've got a Ukrainian barman like cleaning this thing and then leaning over. Thanks.
I know Zhenia's watching, so Zhenia, remember we got to find the right place for that. No problem.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, that's my joke. I couldn't get I couldn't get it to play.
All right, hold on. Let me put it back in there. Present video.
Yeah,
file,
it could be because the other one's there.
And let's
kick the other one out.
Yeah, let me do this.
I can't take the other one out, so
okay. Let's do.
But nonetheless, while he's sorting that one out, we've certainly had it's fascinating. Of course, it's fascinating time so far. It's been really nice, actually. We've all got on really well. It's been really like relaxed as far as it can be. No one's been like stressed or. It was interesting. I think here's a bit of an anecdote for people. The most stressed I have seen anyone is Zhenya. I won't say where we were, but we're in a supermarket recently where I've got primary progressive multiple sclerosis. I'm not very good at walking, and I often need to go for a wee, right? And this is just one
in the loo.
Yeah, in the loo. Thanks. Good English parlance here.
Thank
so
you.
So I walk up, I find a toilet, which is next to where Jenny was standing. And I was like, right, awesome. So I go in there for a little Jimmy Riddle, and I come out, and Jenny's remonstrating to this poor woman behind a counter, like next to it. I was like, oh, what's going on here? I was like, oh, do you have to pay for this? Like, yeah, you got to pay 5 hryvnia to go for a Jimmy Riddle, but he's having a right old argument. He's like, do you know the law in Ukraine? If someone is disabled, they do not have to pay for that. And if you pay for the toilet, you have to get a receipt. This is Ukraine. You are breaking the law. This is not the Ukraine I want. And Zhenya is a man on a mission, right? He's not like, when he says something like this, he means it. Like he was angry because this is all kind of reflective. This is illustrative of where Ukraine is at. And here we had quite a Soviet era system going on in a place that's actually quite Russified. The town we were in was very, very much like everyone speaking Russian. Mm-hmm. This isn't obviously a pro-Ukrainian place. And he's like, this is the Soviet Union, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes, she then starts getting shirty. Then he's like, right, I'm taking this upstairs. So he then walks off and goes literally up the stairs to try and find an administration office in this supermarket shopping center thing.
Johnny goes, what's
going on here? I hope I haven't caused a problem here. I only wanted a WAS.
Listen.
So anyway, no.
So he
goes up, has a right old go at whoever else he can have a go at. Has to write a letter to someone basically saying how terrible this is. This isn't the Ukraine he wants, type thing. And he comes back down, and then these kids hanging around by the toilet, and then he's having getting involved with the kids. And I asked him later, it's like, what are you saying to the kids? I hope you weren't having to go at them. He's like, I think he's just in a fiery way explaining what is going on and saying, and you shouldn't take any of this too. And apparently kids are like, yeah, this is all terrible too, and agreeing with him. Anyway, it's all because I want to go.
2 things, I'll catch you there. So 2 things. Zhenya wanted her to respect you. That's it. And we keep hearing that Ukraine, we're going to the EU, we're going to be in the European, and we have a joke here.
That was it, yeah.
We have a joke here. It's called послезавтра, okay? And that's in Russian language. Послезавтра. После means day or after, and завтра means tomorrow. So after tomorrow. In English, day after tomorrow. So anytime we see something stupid, Zhenya and I just look at each other and go, послезавтра. Послезавтра. And it's a joke because it's not going to happen. In one day, it might, but it's never. They're not going to be in the EU anytime before 2030, period. Okay? And they can do whatever they want and give all this stuff, but it's not happening. So when Zhenya's ripping her the riot act for being disrespectful to Johnny, I walk up beside and say, what's going on? He goes, And Zhenya goes, where are we at? And I looked at the lady, and I figured out what's going on. I said, oh, we're in the Soviet Union. And she goes, I said, but don't worry. Europejski Soyuz, послезавтра. We'll be in the European day after tomorrow. So it was just
brilliant.
It's what you do. It's what you do.
I just wanted a wee. Just sorry to cause a problem, guys. Anyway, yeah.
All right, your other one's loaded and ready. It's ready.
Okay, rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if this works.
Guys, we drive a lot of kilometers and or miles, whichever way you're looking at it. It's a massive amount to cover all these frontline areas. We're pushing, about halfway through our journey here and going to a really unique place for Johnny to experience tonight. And, what do you do when you're driving all of these kilometers, and it takes so much time and so much effort. Well, for those of you that are Jonathan MS Pearce ATP Geopolitics fans, family members, team members, channel supporters, all of those jazzy terms, let me just tell you guys, we started way back east and we're working our way to another location, and I have asked Johnny some questions. It started way back east when Genia over here started asking Johnny some religious and philosophical questions.
I did.
It was really good. And then, as we're traveling, I asked him to explain to me the difference between the United Kingdom and England and Great Britain, all of these things. And man, we get all the way into the St. George flag, and he's waxing eloquent. Then I said, what are your thoughts on the King Charles, Prince William, Prince Harry? And he begins to wax eloquent. Then, guys, I know a lot of you supporters of Johnny, because he actually will title some of his videos sometimes, "Excuse me, I'm going to rant." Guys, if you ever want to rant, you just ask this man to explain Brexit to you in a truck moving from one war front to another. Am I telling the truth, Mr. Pearce?
I've only just started.
Oh my God! Somebody, please help me! I've got to get out of this truck. I'm just playing. It's been awesome. It's been awesome, huh?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure and a privilege.
Yes, it has. And to be quite honest, folks, what's really beautiful about it is when you take time to communicate, you find out that you have a lot more in common than you have issues and things of this world that separate you. So it's a beautiful thing. Thank you, guys. A little bit of yeah. Go all you want.
Just look at Pierre though.
Okay.
Headphones on. He doesn't want to hear it.
Did you say something? I thought you were asleep, JP. Oh, I missed it.
Pierre checked out. Oh, by the way, I did ask him one more question, and that was he a Benny Hill fan? Oh yes, he was a Benny Hill fan.
That Pierre was.
Oh, Pierre was.
I was.
Oh, you were holy.
It's a bit before my time. No, I do remember it as a kid, but I know it's big in America.
Yes, it was. And that Mr. Bean.
Yes.
So
that's more my era.
So guys, this is what you do when you're rolling.
I like Mr. Bean.
Oh, Genia likes Mr. Bean.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, I'm doing.
Guys, we still got a lot of driving to do, and this is what you do. So, thank you for your support. Hopefully, it gives you a little insight of what we do while we're traveling from front to front. Thank you. Nice, man.
Yeah. So, I've publicly debated Brexit twice in front of audiences against other people, and yeah, it was like, what can we trigger Johnny on? Like, start with religion, go through like the monarchy, and we end up on Brexit. It's like, just let's have at it. Brilliant. Loved it.
Let me tell you. But I hope this communicates to people. We literally in a war zone, and in many places where I'm taking him, it's really, really bad. And we were just under air alarm. And you may say, how can you, it's like y'all are at a party. Listen, with what we're seeing and Johnny's experiencing, if you do not have a smile or a philosopher or a hermit and a preacher walk into a bar, if you don't have that, you'll never make it here. You'll never, because all you'll do is drive around in depression.
Absolutely. And actually, just a random comment here from JR saying, and Blackadder, just an interesting point, which is relevant to war. So Blackadder was a famous English or British comedy series, really brilliant. Second, third, and fourth series written by John Curtis with, the fourth series, it follows different historical time periods. The fourth series is set in the First World War, and it's set in the trenches. And the very last episode of the fourth series, which is the last series that was made, was one of the most touching. The very end of it, and they all go over. It's a funny, it's a hilarious series, but dealing with the matter of war. And when they go over the trenches, and then it goes to slow motion, then it goes to stop frame, and then it fades to the poppies. Is just a tremendous piece of British TV.
Well,
if you get a chance to watch the fourth series, everyone should do so, and then just think about last week.
I figured tomorrow we have a lot of miles and kilometers to make. Maybe we'll just, maybe binge watch BBC.
Yeah, good stuff.
I know, is King Raccoon here? He's got to be. He's over in my chat moderating. So King is here. Johnny, this has become a thing now. People wondering where the king is. Would you mind showing that in a minute?
I did love a bit of this.
Where are you at today, King? What? P. O. Give me a K. R. O. V. S. K. Where's the king at? Pokrovsk.
Love it.
Yeah, man.
I love the. Yes, we were there, and that was the sign. It's interesting, actually. We were at. I can't remember what it was. Was it Kramatorsk? Somewhere in the last few days. Was it? I can't even remember what day. So the last few days, we're in somewhere like Kramatorsk, and there was a sign for Kharkiv. And you're like, hang on. And when I say a sign, I don't mean like a road sign saying it's in 200 kilometers or whatever. Like an actual sign, you're in Kharkiv. You're like, no, we're not. That's like a long way away. And this goes back to, I don't know, people, hopefully, some of you might have been with me since the beginning of me reporting on the war. So back like a year and a half ago, I was talking about how the Russians they were really poorly prepared for a war. They were prepared for a special military operation where they're going to drive down in 3 days, take over Kyiv, replace the government, clear up the country, job done, get your parade uniforms out the back of the APC and do a parade in Kyiv. That never happened. It all went wrong straight away. And what they had, because they were poorly prepared, was not satellite imagery at the time. They didn't have things prepared like that. They had maps, old paper maps that were old. These were like 40 years old plus. Some of these were from the 70s and 80s, and they'd genuinely been found. They didn't really know where they were particularly. And the idea was that the Ukrainians knew this, and they were building signs for places like Kharkiv in other cities so that the Russians would get there and go, but hang on, what's going on? And there's nowhere really confirming. It was all like an act of confusion. And there we saw that genuine, I'm talking like one of those, but like the Prokofiev sign you've just seen, a big piece of kit for saying Kharkiv, and we're somewhere in the Donbass. Incredible.
Yeah, and it's public, so I can tell you where you were at. You were on Slavyansk. You were coming out of Slavyansk, and it is the road that goes to Kharkiv. But Kharkiv's a long ways away. And literally, if we had gotten you out of the truck right there, you would be looking at the Welcome to Kharkiv sign. And if you turn around, you see the Welcome to Slavyansk sign. They're like this. And literally, they thought they were in Kharkiv. They literally thought they were in Kharkiv.
Yeah, it's interesting. At the time I was reporting on this, because what was happening is some residential buildings were being hit at the time, which is not unusual for the whole war. But the question was like, okay, are they trying to hit residential buildings? Are these missiles that have just gone awry and they're just inaccurate? Or is something else going on? And for some of these, it was something else was going on. So they had old, out-of-date maps. And it turns out someone did an analysis of this. There was someone's father was living in, I don't know, someone like Kherson or Mykolaiv or somewhere like that, and looked at the map and was like, hang on, I know this residential building that's been hit. That used to be my barracks when I was in the army. And basically that was a military installation like 40 or 25 years ago, I think it was. And it's like, and this place was a military installation 25 years ago. And that place was. And so actually the Russians were genuinely trying to hit places that they thought were military installations, but had not been for over 2 decades. And this, at the time, I think it's a whole different kettle of fish now. But at the time, this showed like the disarray the Russians were in, the poor intelligence they had, the lack of satellite coverage, and like using really out of date stuff to hit places. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a thing. And Johnny, you know, when you get back home and you're doing your map updates and your map analysis, and I always call it the loop road. And now you've been on the loop road, you've been at the intersection of the loop road where one way goes to Bakhmut, one way goes to Izum into Kharkiv, the other way goes into Slavyansk, and you have that loop. That's exactly where that sign is, and it's just amazing. You know, I guess those Russians, when they were coming in and started to figure that out, they would have said something like, "It's all gone pear-shaped." Yeah.
That's what definitely would have said that.
I'm learning my British or English, Queen's English, or whatever you call it.
Absolutely, all of the above. So I guess as I always say, meander to a close here. You know, we've no doubt got a busy day tomorrow. I have no idea what we're doing tomorrow. Actually, I leave this in the incredible minds of Zhenya and Greg.
Well, I will tell you this. Just a preview, and guys will see it later. And yeah, we'll definitely do another joint live stream at least one more time from Ukraine, from somewhere. I've got some ideas on that, but we'll also be putting our videos up every day as well. But this is it for me tonight. We all got to have to get some rest. But I will tell you this: I cannot tell you where. And but Johnny tomorrow is going to experience one of the most incredible blog posts ever.
So a checkpoint.
Incredible. Yeah,
okay.
Checkpoint blog post. But there's something special about this particular one, and it's going to be very interesting experience for you.
So JR's made a really good point here, because there's a meta kind of conversation here about how, like, in the armed forces, generally troops don't know really what they're doing in the whole scheme of things. Like, the commander will say, right, you're going to, and the commander's commander, whatever it is, you know, comes, filters down, and the troops go and like try and take this trench or try and take those buildings over there. But they don't know what the next unit's doing over there, really. They don't know what the next unit's doing over there. And part of the reason, well, not necessarily the reasoning, but one of the benefits of that is if they're captured, they don't really know what's going on, and it kind of helps operational security. I am your basic troop in the back of the battle bus. Like, I don't know what's going on. The commanders haven't told me anything, and I'm just being ordered around, and Sergeant Greg in the front and Lieutenant Colonel Zhenya, or whatever it is, they know what's going on. It's operational security. They don't tell me, because I'll just go and blabber it, or if I get captured, you know.
Well, I hope you're enjoying your room in Lviv tonight.
True that. Yes. So, but no, hopefully many incredible experiences to come, and we're putting this all together. My aim is, if I can cobble together enough sort of footage from all of us together, I'm going to put this into like a series, a kind of sort of documentary series about the experiences here. And can I just say, I hope Gus Hunter here is saying, so he says, JP is a Wanderlust King. One of the best songs by the band Gogol Bordello. I'm wearing their t-shirt. They're a Ukrainian band. Well, they're an international band, but with a lot of Ukrainian influence. The lead singer particularly. Their song Wanderlust King is a brilliant song. Go and look it up on YouTube by Gogol Bordello. Anyway, yes, that's enough of me rambling on there.
Thank you, John.
So, thank you very much for the support. Let's just say a few thanks as well to add to what we've said already. Where did we get to? So I think we're down to Stephen Bendal. Thank you so much. And it's my other band I'm in, Norwegian Love. Hi, guys. It's amazing to follow your journey for whatever is needed at the front. Stay safe. Thank you very much. Staying safe is indeed top of the list of things to do. I do fancy, continuing to exist with all of my limbs. So yeah, it being safe, and it just, you know, goes to show that we think it's dangerous for us, but you remember how dangerous it is for the people that are fighting for their country there, or here. And thank you from Dreicher. My Welsh is clearly not as good as it should be. A few bob from the Wales Oblast. Good on you. Thank you very much for your kind support. And thank you to all the members and all the wonderful people who support both my and Greg's channel. And super importantly, more importantly, for supporting the charitable efforts that get stuff to people who need it. You know, this is testament to the transparency of what we are trying to do, but particularly Greg and Zhenya in getting stuff. They realize, you know, at the beginning of the war, they're involved with their kind of church activities, with sorting out refugees, like moving through the country to the West. And then it got to a point where maybe the refugees were kind of slowing down in their movements. It got to a point, this is how I understand it, that Greg and Zhenya said, well, actually, this is all good and well, but if you don't have
a military, you're not going to have refugees to help anyway. So let's help these guys.
Yeah, exactly that. And so that's where we're at the moment.
There's a chat right there from King Raccoon, if you'd grab it, because I do want to spotlight this. This is from Paul Deberitz, who is a huge supporter of Ukraine and of Rick and myself and others. He has built a great webpage. It's www.heroyum.org. Heroyum meaning hero, /Slava Ukraini. And actually, I'm going to add that to my YouTube channel descriptions going forward.
I need to.
And yes, so you need to click that. Johnny, I'll write it on a piece of paper and bring it over to you.
Yeah, he sent it. He has sent it to me, and I
good. And you need to go there because it really does show reputable sites that you can go and get good information off of. Rick Ukrainian, of course, his site is there. We're all a big family together, and big thanks to him. And I'll say this: if you're here watching on my channel and you're through me and you haven't subscribed to Johnny ATP Geopolitics or Rick the Ukrainian or Dr. Gertis, make sure you do. Let's all support each other. If you're here watching on Johnny's and you haven't subscribed to mine, just hop over and do that, because to be quite honest, we all put up different types of content that all complements each other. It's kind of crazy the way it is. You know, Rick's at the art and the music last night, showing what's happening in Kyiv. And then, you know, Johnny sitting here analyzing the elevation of Izum compared to the elevation of Bakhmut and the wind differentiation to show why the shells are landing 4 meters to the left. I mean, it's incredible knowledge. Dr. Gertis is ripping us out with insight into America, into politics and all these other things, and the support of Ukraine. Wrote his book about Zelensky. And you know, if I'm here in Ukraine, we're on the front. And if I'm not in Ukraine, I'm home. You know, I'm giving news updates, but we're talking to Ukrainians. And that's what we're doing. So all together, this makes just an incredible family and group of communities that work together. So thank you.
And just the last one here, Daniel Smith, who works for a humanitarian organization in Bristol in the UK, from Bristol with Love. And I've interviewed him. You can check that out on one of my earlier live streams. Thanks so much, Daniel. Really great long-time supporter of the channel. So thank you, and keep up the great support for Ukraine that you do.
Dr. Gertis is going to put it on his page too. So it's awesome.
Yes,
so Paul Deberitz, we're getting it out there, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And thanks so much to Prof. Gertis and to Rick the Ukrainian, to Greg and Zhenya. And I hope that this has been interesting and illustrative of certain things going on, and at times, you know, enjoyable for you, because, you know, we must find mirth in depressing, you know, situations like war. And just thank you for being along with us for this experience. And thank you, obviously, Greg.
You're welcome, buddy. Thank you. And I'll leave you with one last patch tonight. This is the first group that I ever embedded with. the wolf pack, and of course you see it in the red and black.
Awesome.
Really cool.
Awesome.
This one now, the commander of this group's very, very, very well known. He's a stud, and this is very special to me because this is the first group of soldiers. I will always have this one on my bag or my coat. This is the first group of soldiers who allowed me to embed with them, meaning you're where they're at, you're on their place, you stay with them, you eat with them, you sleep there, they give you their bed, everything. And the next day I'm sitting on the tailgate and speaking with the commander, and he's well known, and we're talking about different things in the war. And then a call comes in that this village has no food and they're completely cut off, and if he has some guys that help us get there, would we go and give aid to this village? That's really what started it. That's where the babushka was today, Johnny. I was talking to you about when we went by there in that little town, and that happened because of the wolf pack. And guys I'm doing a Rick here. The guys are amazing. So it's Ukraine, and there's just awesome people. Awesome.
And I think Rick, I so much has happened in the live chat. But Rick had a video for the people that should watch. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. So if you go to Rick the Ukrainian's channel, over the last couple of days, he has put up some premiere videos about its art and music and the support of Ukraine. And Rick gives you that inside culture, and it's just incredible. So definitely go check that and all of Rick's videos out as well.
Yeah. Cool beans. Okay. Well, look, I look forward to seeing Rick hopefully again in the coming days. But in the meantime, guys,
Rick has to buy us lunch.
True that.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, Bruce. In the meantime, take care, everybody, and we'll keep you updated. Greg needs his beauty sleep. I am clearly already beautiful enough, so I am going to be doing a couple more, probably pumping out a couple more videos, because I have all the stuff on my sticky notes that I need to get out there, and if I don't, they build up, and my head explodes. So I might do a map update and something else next. I've got some tea. I've got some Yorkshire tea with me, so it's all right.
No, listen, we could keep going. It's just somebody wrote in the chat very early on, goes, okay, this will turn you into lifelong, very close friends. Well, that's a done deal. That's a done deal. And what's interesting about it, I hate to keep hammering on it, but I believe in divine connections. Johnny believes in the alignment of the universe. I'm right, he's wrong. But other than that, everything else is okay. But I will tell you this.
It's going to be a long night now, Greg.
I'm coming. Hey, I'm bringing that right there. Listen, I'll tell you this. It really is amazing the way these specific 4 communities have connected.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Rick is just, I love that dude. And I love Dr. Gertis. And it's not that we're just trying to do something to help I mean, really, we formed a bond. And it's a wonderful display of how so many different backgrounds come together. And I hope it's illustrative of what the world needs to look like.
Absolutely. Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Couldn't have said it better, so I won't. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Greg, I'll see you in the morning. Take care.
Yeah, you remember, you going to do the first or the second one? You want to do the Slava or the Heroim?
Slava Ukraini.
Heroim Slava. Good night.
Good night.